Happy New Year everyone! I hope you're all surviving the January blues, but if not, here is a cheeky video to help cheer you up. So, I've recently reread the Order of the Phoenix book, right, for probably the 100th millionth time. At this point, I've basically constantly got a Harry Potter book on the go. But yeah, when I was rereading it, right, it struck me how bizarre Dumbledore's behaviour is in this book. Like seriously, is it his time of the month or something? For the whole year? Like yeah, I know he's trying to keep Harry safe by distancing himself and all that rubbish, but seriously, he is brutal in this book and definitely did way more harm than good. Okay, so here is 5 times Dumbledore was a savage in the Order of the Phoenix book. Okay, so this is at the start of the 5th year when Harry and the gang are at number 12 Grimmauld Place in London. So Harry is already feeling proper down in the dumps because of being left at Privet Drive for a month when the others were all partying it out together in Grimmauld Place. He's then also been really stressed about his ministry trial for using magic against the Dementors and being scared about being expelled from Hogwarts. And on top of that, the Daily Prophet has been writing a load of nasty stuff about him all summer, saying that he's lying about Voldemort being back. So, what does Dumbledore do? Purposefully not make Harry a prefect and instead make his 2 best friends and his arch enemy Malfoy all prefects. Just to rub it in. Dumbledore's defence, which he gives at the very end of this book, is that he didn't want to add any extra pressure to Harry's load and he didn't want to burden him with the extra responsibility. But what responsibilities, right? It's not made super clear, but I'm pretty sure all the prefects actually do is more or less patrol the corridors on the Hogwarts Express, help the first years get settled in on their first day, and just generally make sure people aren't causing chaos around the school. But they also get to use the fancy prefect's bathroom and dish out detentions. So, Dumbledore giving Harry's 2 best friends and nemesis Malfoy this power is a proper kick in the teeth for Harry. It's the opposite of what he should have done. When the Ministry of Magic, the Daily Prophet, and generally most of the wizarding community are giving Harry stick and calling him a liar, this is exactly the time to make Harry a prefect. It would have shown confidence in him. Also, if Dumbledore chooses the prefect, then why would you pick Malfoy? The guy is literally a bully from day one. No redeeming qualities whatsoever. Why the heck would you give him power to boss people around and give them detentions? Such a rogue decision. To be honest, picking Ron is also a bit of a wild decision. He's generally not a well-behaved person, doesn't really care about following rules, and has pretty much been with Harry every time they've broken rules to go on little adventures. It's almost like he did it just to rub it in Harry's face. Dumbledore, you savage. Right. I mean, this one, you could argue that Dumbledore had Sirius's best interests at heart, but like, give the guy a break. So, I'm talking about the fact that Dumbledore basically banned Sirius from leaving number 12 Grimmauld Place throughout this entire book. Like I say, Dumbledore said he just didn't want Sirius to get caught and be put back in Azkaban. But I reckon Dumbledore should have just chilled out and let Sirius do what he wants. He broke out of Azkaban 2 years prior completely on his own and managed to survive on the run for the entirety of the previous year when he was camping out in the mountains near Hogwarts. The Ministry of Magic literally isn't good at capturing people. During the 3rd year, Sirius was able to break into Hogwarts twice and one of the times get into the Gryffindor common room, and there was like 100 Dementors outside looking specifically for Sirius. Clearly, Sirius is a master of evading capture, so why did Dumbledore tell him he wasn't allowed to leave the house? Because what it did was make Sirius miserable for like the whole year. He was fuming that he wasn't allowed to help out with the Order of the Phoenix. Surely there was jobs that he could have done. He's the only person in the whole order with actual experience evading capture and sneaking around, seeing as he's just been doing that for like 2 years straight. He's also an animagus, the only one in the order apart from McGonagall who's busy in Hogwarts for like 80% of the year. So surely Sirius, who's got no job, could have done little jobs for the order disguised as an animagus. Also, what was the plan? To keep Sirius trapped in there forever? To clear Sirius's name, they would have essentially had to find Peter Pettigrew, capture him and take him to the Ministry of Magic. And realistically, they had bigger problems than worrying about that, like defeating Voldemort and all of his Death Eaters. So basically, Dumbledore is saying, stay at home until we defeat Voldemort. Ridiculous. Leave him alone, Dumbledore. So, it's never explicitly mentioned in the books, but surely Dumbledore must have known that Umbridge was torturing students. He's Dumbledore. He knows everything that goes on in Hogwarts, doesn't he? That's like his thing, isn't it? Knowing everything that goes down in Hogwarts. Realistically though, Umbridge, being the psycho that she is, was probably torturing a lot of students and not just Harry. When I say torturing, by the way, I am of course referring to Harry's many detentions with her when she would make him engrave words into his skin as a form of punishment. Mad cow. It seems very unlikely, therefore, that she was saving this just for Harry. In fact, we know from the book that Lee Jordan, Fred and George's friend, had also been administered this special form of punishment by Umbridge for answering back or something. I know, lock him up. How dare he question the Supreme Leader? Now, I don't think it's mentioned that she did this to any other students apart from Harry and Lee, but I reckon it's really unlikely it was just those two. Chances are, over the course of this year, there was probably a bunch of students that annoyed Umbridge one way or another, and she probably took out her anger on them in the same way that she does to Harry. Or even other ways. We saw her about to use the Cruciatus Curse on Harry near the end of this book. We know that she was illegally slipping Veritaserum into students' drinks and questioning them, and we also know that she was about to have Fred and George whipped by Filch before they escaped. Creepy thought that. Filch whipping you. I don't know why, but I can just imagine Filch whipping them and shrieking with glee. I'm glad that never happened. I think they would have had to make the film a 15 then. Basically, Umbridge is completely mental, and it seems basically impossible that she wasn't doing a bunch of horrible stuff that we, as readers and Harry, didn't hear about. Which brings me to Dumbledore. He must have known. And as far as we know, he didn't do anything about it. Unless he did it behind closed doors. I mean, Dumbledore was technically Umbridge's line manager when he was still at Hogwarts. I wonder if he brought it up in their performance reviews. Like, yeah, you're doing really well. It would be great if you could cover Snape's potion lesson on Tuesday because he's got to go to the dentist. Oh yeah, also, do you think you could stop torturing the students? Cheers. And if he did bring it up with her in private, then it didn't work, because she gets more and more insane as the year goes on. So I must conclude that he knew and did nothing about it, which kind of fits with the rest of his bizarre behaviour, especially surrounding Umbridge. When her and Fudge try to arrest him and he escapes, he just leaves the school to Umbridge. Like, he should have stayed and fought, or at least tried to come back to the school after he left. He just leaves it to Umbridge. She then goes on a rampage and attacks McGonagall and Hagrid, and Dumbledore just sort of chills wherever he is and does nothing about it. She could have literally started slaughtering students and there probably wouldn't have been anyone there to stop her. You couldn't really trust Snape to stop her, could you? And all that just because Dumbledore just rolls over and lets Umbridge do whatever she wants. Bloody hell, Albus, sort it out. Where does Dumbledore go, by the way, when he escapes Hogwarts? I can imagine him just being like, I've had enough of all this lark, I'm going to Ibiza for a couple of weeks. Right, why didn't Dumbledore tell Harry what Voldemort was up to during the Order of the Phoenix book? Can someone please tell me? Okay, so he says that he didn't want to tell Harry about the prophecy because he didn't want Harry to be worried about the whole either him or Voldemort having to kill the other thing. But he said that he cared about Harry too much and didn't want to upset him. Right, okay, I can understand that, but that's not my qualm. My qualm is why Dumbledore didn't tell Harry that Voldemort wanted something from the Department of Mysteries that only he or Harry could retrieve. Or he could have just told Harry that there was a prophecy but not tell him what it was about. That way Harry wouldn't have been upset about the whole neither can live while the other survives thing, and he would have been on his guard that Voldemort might try and lure him to the Department of Mysteries, which would have literally stopped Harry from going to the Ministry of Magic with his mates and saved Sirius's life. Dumbledore not giving Harry this information actually makes no sense. He apparently expected Voldemort to do exactly what he ended up doing, i.e. planting a fake vision in Harry's head to lure him to the Ministry. That's why he got Snape to teach Harry occlumency. Or try to. Didn't go very well in the end, did it? So, when Voldemort behaves exactly as Dumbledore expected and Harry falls for the bait, there is nobody to blame except Dumbledore. What strange behaviour, yet again. And finally, why does Dumbledore ignore Harry throughout the entirety of the Order of the Phoenix book? What is the actual reason for this rogue behaviour? The excuse Dumbledore gives at the end of the year is that he didn't want Voldemort to see how close Dumbledore and Harry were in case he tried to use Harry and Voldemort's connection to get at Dumbledore. But there's no way that Voldemort didn't already know. Everyone knew. Harry stopped Voldemort getting the Philosopher's Stone, then destroyed Riddle's diary and killed the Basilisk with Gryffindor's sword, and then won the Triwizard Tournament. There's no way that Dumbledore doesn't love Harry by this point. People like Lucius Malfoy and Peter Pettigrew, who lived in Harry's dormitory for 3 years and presumably heard everything, would have definitely told Voldemort that Harry and Dumbledore were close. Anyway, aside from all this, if Voldemort had wanted or was able to use Harry to get at Dumbledore, then he would have just done that. He wouldn't have been like, oh no, I'm going to wait to see how close they are first. He would have just done it and not waited to carry out a feasibility study. I think Dumbledore was scared that Voldemort would try to use his connection with Harry to spy on Dumbledore. But, again, he didn't use the connection to spy on the Order of the Phoenix when Harry was staying at Grimmauld Place over the summer. Clearly the connection doesn't work like that. Also, why didn't Dumbledore just explain to Harry what was going on with this connection? He could have just told him that every now and then Harry will get genuine visions of what Voldemort is up to, like when Mr. Weasley is attacked. And he could have just told him that he's witnessing it and not doing it himself. But no, Dumbledore just lets Harry think that he is attacking people. There's literally no reason for Dumbledore not explaining all this to Harry. If he didn't want to speak to him himself, he should have just got someone else to explain it to Harry. Ridiculous. He could have then also explained to Harry that Voldemort could also plant fake visions in his head and save Sirius's life. But no. I'm not done yet, right? I've got another point. Even if Dumbledore was convinced that the right thing to do was to ignore Harry for the whole year, which he obviously was, he could have just told Harry that that's what he was going to do. He could have just said, hey Harry, I'm worried about your connection with Voldemort. I'm worried that he's going to use you to spy on me, so I'm going to ignore you for the next 12 months. But I'm telling you now so that you don't think I hate you. Thanks, bye. That way Harry wouldn't have thought that Dumbledore hated him, which was understandably his conclusion. The previous 4 years, Dumbledore is always chatting to Harry, asking him how he is, etc, etc. But then this year, when Harry has been ostracised by the entire magical community, Dumbledore decides to ditch Harry and ignore him for the whole year. Which obviously causes Harry a bunch of stress that could have easily been avoided, and for no benefit. In fact, if you were doing pros and cons, you would have found that the cons of ignoring Harry for this whole year way outweigh any pros. Dumbledore's behaviour in this book is unhinged. It's not exactly unusual for Dumbledore to make strange decisions that put people at risk, but in the Order of the Phoenix book, he makes decision after decision that put Harry at risk, make him miserable, make him anxious, and actually end up with someone dying. In fact, everything he does is basically the opposite of what he should have done if he actually had Harry's best interests at heart. I don't have a vendetta against Dumbledore, by the way, I swear. So if someone can explain any of this bizarre behaviour to me, then please drop it in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, drop it a like and subscribe to the channel for more.